What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about crowdfunding and how you can actually raise money on websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, how you can actually get funding for a new product, for a passion of yours. We also talk about other websites out there like Patreon, which is a subscription-based crowdfunding service. We talk about WeFunder, which is raising investment capital using equity crowdfunding to your advantage. So my goal with this show is really to not only share with you the step-by-step process that goes behind that, but also introduce you to real-world examples, entrepreneurs, creators, innovators, people that are out there on the front lines that are actually raising money every single week. And I think that the more that you just kind of listen to this show and the more that you really understand this, you take notes and you really pay attention to what's working to get them funding, the easier it is to launch your own campaign. And maybe that's even just to get a little bit of motivation, right? To really focus on this for the first time in your life. If this is your first product, or maybe this is your third product, whatever it is, I really hope that by listening to the show this year specifically, that you take away tons of golden nuggets, that you take away a treasure trove of information, of valuable resources, tools, techniques, strategies, things that you can use and that you can apply to your actual campaign. That being said, today's episode, we speak with a creator who has launched a Kickstarter campaign and also recently transitioned into Indiegogo. They have more than 800 backers for their product. On this episode, you're going to hear kind of about the story behind the actual creation of the product, some of the advice that they have for beginning creators, what actually worked in terms of getting them funding, some of their thoughts when it comes to PR, getting the word out, getting media hits, and also some of their advice when it comes to what you should be focusing, what should you be spending your time on. And to me, when it comes to my coaching students, when it comes to people that are writing in via my email, all the time I have this like kind of like common message, if you will, where someone's like, "Hey Sal, there's so much I can do, right? When it comes to this project, I could do social media, I could do paid ads, I could do PR, I could do influencer outreach, I could do a whole host of different things. I could start a blog, I could do so much stuff. What should I be focused on?" And I spent a career really trying to answer that question. What is most effective for you? What's going to move the needle the most? Because I've been in the industry again since 2012, and I've been working with so many people in really trying to answer this question for them. And that answer is a little bit different depending on what category you're in and what type of product you have. But I hope that by the end of this episode today, that you have a little bit more clarity on what's worked for this particular creator. In addition, if this is your first time tuning in, there are a lot of great places to kind of begin this journey. This is a journey where you're taking an idea in your head, you're bringing that into the physical world, and you're getting tons of people out there online to back your campaign, to buy into this product, to give you funding. This is a journey, and there is a science behind this. And this is what I've really spent so much of my time trying to figure out for you, is what is working, what's happening behind the scenes of these different campaigns. It is my passion, man. It is my labor of love to share this information with you so you can move the ball further down the court for your business. So first, one great place to get started, if you've never come to my website before at crowdcrux.com, I have a section there called crowdcrux.com/about. If you go to that section, or if you just go to my website, crowdcrux.com, you can actually contact me and you can send me an email. And actually, not a lot of people know about that I actually make my email address public. And we do get a lot of emails, obviously, as a result of that. Well, if you do want to contact me, you have a question, you have something you want to bounce an idea off of me, you can go to that website, crowdcrux.com, and you can reach out to me there. In addition, if you're just kind of right now like in the learning phase and just kind of getting up to speed with all this, and you kind of want to just absorb and have all this information sink into your mind, sink into your brain very easily, I think the easiest way to do that is just to hop on my Killer Crowdfunding Tips newsletter. So the Killer Crowdfunding Tips newsletter is designed that every single week I'm sending you things that are working in terms of getting funding. So what's working in terms of some tools, some resources, some new techniques that I'm discovering. I'm always studying up on the industry, and I try to share that cutting edge information with my followers through my free Killer Crowdfunding Tips newsletter. So if you want to check out that newsletter, all you got to do is go to crowdcrux.com/newsletter, and that link will take you there. You can enter your name and email, and you can get started getting some of these weekly nuggets of gold from me straight into your inbox. You can start taking action on some of those items. In addition, at the end of this episode, I think there's a really salient free course that I want to share with you, but I've been going on too much, man. Let's get straight to the point here. Let's cut to the edge of actually how this campaign was able to attract more than 800 backers for the Uphold pocket-sized reusable folding travel cutlery campaign, and it's coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we're speaking with a creator of the Uphold pocket-sized reusable folding travel cutlery. So this is basically incredibly, ridiculously small folding travel cutlery to help eliminate single-use plastics. We have Eric on the show right now, who is an industrial designer and architect by training, and going to share a ton of the story leading up to this campaign. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Salvador. Thank you.
Definitely, man. So just to kind of get started here, maybe you could introduce yourself to the listeners and just let us know a little bit about what you've created here.
Right. So we've been developing this product since the end of 2019, actually. So it actually took us 2 years to develop the product from just being an idea to a functional prototype. The whole journey began when we heard about countries around the world beginning to legislate against disposable plastics. So we are thinking about how we can actually diminish the size of cutleries from a three-dimensional form to almost a two-dimensional thin geometry. And our studio is actually quite good in working with geometries. We've been working in furniture design and homeware design, and we worked a lot with folding geometries or what you call origami structures. So we've incorporated folding geometries into the design, and we managed to compress a spoon, a fork, and a knife into a size of just 10 millimeters thick, including the case. So
very cool. Very cool.
So we took 2 years and almost 14 major generations of revisions to get to this stage. Yeah.
Congratulations. In terms of what you were doing before, what were you doing before, creating this product and getting this out there?
Before the cutlery?
Yes. Yeah. Before creating this.
Yes. Our company is quite new. I mean, I have another studio. My sister company is called Air Revolution, and Air Revolution does all kinds of industrial designs, from homeware to lifestyle products to furniture. Uphold itself is quite new. We started the company in 2020, but before the company was incorporated, we actually did another design, which is a folding cup. It's a cup of just 7 ounce, quite a small cup, but it's because of its geometry, it can be compressed to a thickness of just 20 millimeters as well. So it's a bit difficult to describe with just words, but it's a hexagonal cup with faceted faces, and if you compress it from top down, it can kind of with a twist.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, it's compressed to quite a thin size. Yes.
So you were doing this industrial design studio, and you'd also created another product before. Why did you choose to launch this campaign on Indiegogo?
I've been paying attention to different sorts of creations and campaigns in both Indiegogo and Kickstarter for actually a very, very long time. I've been paying attention for almost the last decade, basically. And I never really had the guts to launch a campaign, because our studio had been working as a consultancy for the last decade, and we've been working with external clients, working on their projects. We've never really produced a commercialized product before for ourselves, and Uphold is our first attempt of producing our own product and launching it into the market. And I've always felt that crowdfunding platforms like that of Indiegogo would be a great platform to launch a product, especially for us, for industrial designers. I think it is a great platform for us to get our product out there to let everyone know about our product, and to be able to actually use our skills and our ways of expressing what a design would be like or what the
Mhm.
product would be like before it's even in the market. Yeah, so I
So,
think
so
it's a great
you
platform for us. Yeah.
you spent a while, it sounds like, kind of thinking about launching a product and really following some of the other launches. Um, Tell me the story of when you really made that decision to go for this and to launch your own product. Why was it that there was a sudden change where you finally decided to pull the trigger with this?
I think the really critical part is when the COVID hit, actually, that because that's the moment when our studio was quite free. Actually, in 2020, when COVID hit, we lost some projects, and our clients stopped their project, and we become a little bit more free. We have less jobs in the studio, and that's the moment when we decide to pull out our own ideas from the drawers and turn them into products. And also, almost coincidentally, at that time, that was the time when the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 uh, was the time when countries start to legislate against single-use plastics. So it was
Mm,
quite a coincidence that the two kind of came together at the same point. So, and that's the time when we really felt that we should speed up the development of the product to get it complete as soon as possible. It took 2 years, a bit longer than I hoped, but we managed to get it ready before the COVID ends. So, which is quite a good timing for us.
yeah,
Yeah,
I totally think so. And obviously, travel is now booming,
yeah,
and I think it's a really great item for that as well. So, you being an industrial designer, you actually have a very unique viewpoint when it comes to creating something from scratch, taking an idea from your head and turning that into a physical product, right? What do you feel like is the
yeah.
most challenging part of taking an idea and really making it something physical that people can buy?
Yeah. I mean, travel cutleries have been around for quite a long time, actually. You know, we have lots of products for campers and hikers alike out there, and most of those uh, cutleries are designed such that they are quite strong and light. But the difference between what we wish to create, um, in contrast with what's out there, is to create something that's not only light and small, but also would go well with urban users, because one of the key aspects of our product is to convey urban users to use travel cutleries, so
Mm,
that they would ditch single-use plastics, because actually urban users are the people who use the most disposable plastics.
yeah.
So not suburban people. So I think to convey urban users to use portable cutleries, it's difficult, and we're creating a product that most people would have thought that it's similar to what's already out there, but in fact we not only need to make it extremely small, we have to create a product that appeals to people who don't um, who don't bring
Live in
bags, who
cities.
don't, yeah, and they don't bring field goods with them. They just wear a suit and then maybe a mobile phone with them. So it's
So,
it's a
so
very it's a very
mhm.
different product that we're creating. Yeah.
So for you, it sounded like it was kind of deciding on the bits of functionality that someone who's in a city is going to care the most about, right? And also use the actual product.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And when you're thinking that kind of brainstorming that, are you in a room and just like throwing out ideas? Are you thinking about this on your own? Are you creating lists of potential features? How are you conceptualizing this?
It's a very good question. I think how industrial designers may be different from other other creatives is we started a project maybe from our strength. The strength of our studio is to work with origami structures. So when we see an opportunity like creating a travel cutlery set, we think about how we can incorporate our strength, which is folding geometries, into the design in such a way that it can help make it as small and as light as possible. So I think that's how it kind of started. Actually, it started as early as 2017 for the project, but at that time we're just kind of throwing out ideas on how to make it work. It was not until end of 2019 when we start to become serious in developing it into a product.
I love that because you're really playing to your strengths, right? For a beginner out there who's maybe making their first product, do you have any advice for someone who is trying to create something from scratch? Any kind of high level broad advice for them?
I think I think we are in an era where we see a lot of startups creating great products, but at the same time, you notice that they are not actually designers who run the companies. So I think the most important aspect is to actually identify um, a real problem to be solved. I think I noticed a lot of projects in crowdfunding platforms which um, have very good ideas on solving certain problems, but at the same time, there are products which seem to have been grown from a problem that doesn't quite exist in a way. It's probably a manufactured problem that doesn't quite exist, and I think that could lead to a product that has no demand basically. So I think
Well said.
as a designer, I think for us a great product is born from a very real life problem that it's a very tangible problem that you can solve, and not something that you feel like maybe it's a problem but it's not quite. I think that's
Yeah, that's so cool, and I completely agree with that. And I think that it's actually incredibly rewarding work as well to create a product that solves a problem for so many people, right? And you've been working on this, if we're thinking about this for about 2 years or more, and you get to the night. Let's just say, let's fast forward here in the story. You get to the night before you're going live with the Indiegogo campaign. What is going through your mind? What are you feeling that night before you're going live?
that was really nerve breaking actually. I think just as simple as fixing a date, um, fixing the launch date and fixing the time, it's very hard work because uh, there was a period of time when we kept pushing back the launch date because we felt that we're not quite ready. But at the same time, we know that we can't just keep pushing back the launch date. So, there was a point when we say, oh, okay, so that's, 18th of October is our launch date and we're going to launch. And that was when, the pressure starts building up
Hmm.
in getting ourselves ready. It's not just us, there are a lot of parties uh, as, playing the part of getting a product launched. A lot of
A lot of
marketing,
moving pieces. Yeah.
yeah, marketing efforts behind the project. So I think uh, it was a very long journey, and I think to be determined to launch on a certain date itself, it's difficult. Yeah, and not to mention the month that followed. Yeah.
And at what point in time, when you launch this and you start to get some people backing it and started getting people funding it, what was the conversation happening, amongst your team when you started to notice that?
Like many projects, like many crowdfunding projects, the beginning was very intense. The first 2 days, especially the first 12, 18 hours, was very intense, and we were working really hard to get the early backers notified and to back us, and also friends and family to back us. Uh, it was very, it was incredible because that 18 hours was probably the longest 18 hours I had for a very long time. And uh, I mean, interestingly, two designers who worked on this project were away from the company at the time when it launched, because for different reasons they were actually they left Hong Kong for New Zealand and Canada at the time of the launch. So they were not next to me, but they were fully informed of the launch and they were paying attention to it. So uh, it was a complex situation, but yeah, we got enough people to back us to get us fully funded within the first day, which was great. But to actually get the momentum going after was another story. It was quite difficult, actually.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. For you, what do you feel like was the most powerful marketing channel where people were discovering you? Was it Kickstarter itself? Was it your social media? Was it advertising? What do you feel like was the most powerful marketing medium for you?
It's a good question. From what I saw and from what I learned, I think social media definitely played a big role in getting our product out there and getting people to know our product. It was a lot of it was down to paid ads through social media such as Facebook and Instagram. But at the same time, our product it's quite different in the sense that it didn't click with traditional early backers or crowdfunders, so to speak, because our product was not that new or not that unique to a lot of early backers and crowdfunders. We saw a lot of travel cutleries before, so our product is not that exciting in a way, but for a lot of other regular people out there, it was quite exciting. So I think the one thing that we need to do is to actually use PR to get our product out there beyond the crowdfunding space. But that was very challenging because similar to the reactions to a lot of people who are familiar with crowdfunding, a lot of media find our product not as exciting as they would have thought. And we had struggled to get media to cover us in the first half of our campaign. But slowly we start to get the momentum with quite a lot of media. So that was when we had a second wave of backers coming in.
Was that just persistence? Was that just continuing to reach out? What do you feel like contributed to that second wave?
I think definitely persistence, but I think it's also the way we tell our story. I think it's very challenging to tell the public what your product is in a very exciting way, so to speak. You can tell it in a very
engineering, functionality, those kinds of terms.
Yeah. You can pretty much describe exactly the same product in a very modest way. But I think the trick for us is to really deliver the aspects that are different or what is spectacular about the product. I think initially why we failed in our press release was because we've been looking at the product for like 2-3 years and we didn't find those aspects
it's certainly challenging.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard,
Yes.
especially to just get outside of the echo chamber which you have amongst your team and yourselves, and you're dealing with the product for years at a time, right? To
Yes.
then suddenly shift perspective and describe it in a completely different way. Very challenging.
That's correct. We had to actually look at it as a third person to understand it again, how our product is different to the rest, and we start to get a grip of how to actually tell the story better. Yeah.
So you had been thinking of doing this for a long time, and you finally made that decision. You pulled the trigger. You got something out there. You have people now that are resonating with this, backers. You have people that are writing about it. What did this mean to you to really get this product out there and to have people checking it out?
It's very fulfilling. It's I mean, one of the things that we really wish to do is to create an impact where our product can really help the elimination of disposable plastics. And I'm we work really hard in trying to play a part of this. Before the world is ready for the stopping of the single-use plastics. I mean, we talked about like legislation of making single-use plastics illegal, but to be honest, majority of the world is still using single-use plastics, and
Mm-hmm.
talking about not being able to completely stop the production of these plastics in no less than 10 years, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very long journey, and it requires a very long education process for consumers to not use it. Pretty much like plastic bags, actually. It took like 10 years for people to start ditching plastic bags and go for reusable travel bags. And I think we really hope to be part of this. And yeah, so it's a long journey. I think we're just kind of beginning. Yeah.
How would you compare the feeling of making your own product, getting it out there, getting backers, getting funding, to creating products for others, designing products with your design studio, kind of the work you were doing before? How would you compare the way that those two feel?
It's very different. Previously, in our studio, when we are working as a design consultancy, there's really just one person or one team to please. You can almost say that because he's our client. He's the person who tell us how he wants the product to be. So, but now we're creating a product where we are putting it out there and asking millions of people to judge on it. So it's a much more challenging project to produce a product of your own and putting it into the market or into crowdfunding, and where you let people criticize or admire. It's a very different project to working for clients. Yeah.
Interesting, very very interesting. Yes, I was definitely curious about that. One of the other quick questions I had for you was, when it comes to doing the campaign, is there anything that you would have done differently, or anything you would have focused on more if you had another opportunity to do a campaign?
Yes, a lot of things actually, but I think most of the um, the thing that I'll definitely do differently is I'll get the marketing going much earlier. I think because it's the first time we're running a crowdfunding project, we left a lot of the um, marketing aspect, whether it's paid ads in social media or the PR marketing, much too late. And
How early would you do it?
I'll actually uh, get our story out there earlier, because what I think the one aspect that we learned is that for PR marketing to work, it actually takes a lot of time. It takes like 20-30 days for a story to filter through the media and to get them to write about it. And they also need, when they decide to write about it, they also ask you to review. what they write. So the whole process actually takes up to like 30 days, or or maybe 20 days in the
Mhm.
in a quicker turnaround. And I think we underestimated that. We thought that it's going to be much quicker. And because the crowdfunding space is much more competitive compared to maybe a decade ago, there are hundreds and thousands of stories getting sent to these media, and they have
Mhm.
to pick, or even if they like your story, they put you into the queue. So it takes a lot of time um, for media to cover your story. And if we've known about this earlier, we would actually get our story out there sooner. So actually, maybe even before we launch. So
Mm.
when our campaign is ready for launch, it's also the time when they're ready to get your story out there. So
So basically, yeah, start that at an earlier process, maybe a month before. That's what you're saying.
yes, yes. And also, there is this very common advice from a lot of very experienced crowdfunders out there, suggesting maybe campaigns of maybe 30 days of maximum 40 days. It's kind of the best duration for a campaign. I think that's true if you are running campaigns not for the first time. If you're running your third or fourth campaign, I think that's really is uh, it's the best duration. But for us or for anyone running their campaign for the first time, I think you should really uh, consider how long things take. For example, if the PR marketing turnaround time is like 20, 30 days, I think a 30-day campaign wouldn't work at all.
Mm.
So I think that's also the one reason why, if we are sticking to a short campaign, then we really need to push out PR marketing much earlier than we thought. Yeah.
So you would almost consider doing more of like a 45-day campaign potentially.
Yeah. We Our campaign started on the 18th of October, and we calculated that's pretty much the last Tuesday we can start a campaign, because if we start a week later than that, then we run into um, kind of the Christmas period, which is not a
Mm.
period for crowdfunding. We kind of rolled into the Black Friday weekend as well, but we actually make use of the Black Friday kind of term.
Sales, yeah.
Yeah, and we put it into our campaign, and that actually drew in some backers. So it's a tricky question, uh, like how long we should run the campaign for, but we didn't want to go into December, so we actually ended on the 28th of November. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. One other follow up question, and I think that's actually really, really valuable information. So first of all, I appreciate you so much for sharing this. But of the learnings that you did and the teachings that you've absorbed about crowdfunding, do you feel like there's anything else that's a myth or something that is something that people should reevaluate when it comes to doing a launch? So one you mentioned was the duration. Was there
Yeah.
anything else do you think should be up for discussion?
It's another very good question. Uh, we 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 are from Hong Kong, and our product is a Hong Kong product, so it's right for us to market our product both, of course, in the US, because US is the where crowdfunding begins, and it's the largest
We
country.
love buying stuff. Yeah.
But it's also right for us to market our product in Hong Kong, of course, because we're from Hong Kong, and we get a lot of supporters who simply support creators from your own country. And so uh, we did a lot of marketing in Hong Kong as well. But the tricky bit for our country is that we had quite um, there were a couple of projects. There were a couple of crowdfunding projects that didn't turn well in the last
Mhm.
decade, and it put a very bad taste into people.
So being aware of the community, the environment, the kinds of projects that are launching around your time as well.
Those two projects generated very bad publicity and a very bad taste for crowdfunding in general for the public. So
yeah, that just gets me going, because I feel like it's not considerate of other people, right? And it's really not investing in the community itself.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that we need to do right is to convince people that we're not just kind of fooling around. We're quite serious with the project that we're running, and so that there was this very unique thing that I actually did, which was to what I did. I actually did a pledge. I actually went to a government department and made a pledge of promising to our backers that I'm going to deliver my product, which is a very
that's hardcore, man.
That's a very unique thing. And I actually messaged both Indiegogo and Kickstarter about the oath that I made of promising a delivery or otherwise a full refund to all our backers. And
that's astounding.
Yeah, that actually put a lot of faith in our local backers in Hong Kong, and I think they love it. And because that kind of eliminated the suspicion of another crowdfunding project that's not going to deliver. And I think that's quite interesting. And I actually made that decision in the last week of the campaign. So
I think that says so much about your brand, about your values, about your commitment, right, to this, and also just not coming out with a new product, but really something that makes a dent, right, in the universe, something that's actually doing some good for people. So on that note, where can people go to learn more about your campaign? I know you're now on Indiegogo. Where can they go to learn more?
They can visit our website. upholdliving.com. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/upholdliving, and other social medias as well, like Instagram and Twitter. So
it's super cool, man. I got to tell you guys as well, just even looking at this, I can totally see the origami aspect that you were speaking of, and how thin it is and how beautiful. So definitely would recommend everyone go and check that out.
Thank you.
Cool, man. Well, my final question for you here, and you can speak directly to the listeners. You can end on either a quote that you like. You could end on a final tip or word of advice about crowdfunding. Could be something a mentor has told you in the past, or it could just be a word of encouragement for other people out there that are creating products.
Right. I think to creators or to be creators, I think you don't need to be a designer to like us to start a project. I think the most important is to be to have the insight of knowing what the real world problem is, and to identify the problem. And if you are able to find that problem and to figure out a unique idea of solving the problem, then I think you are on the way to a product where you can launch on crowdfunding.
Love it. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your upcoming product launches.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Oh man, I hope that by the end of this episode, by the end of this show, that you felt like not only is it possible to raise money using crowdfunding, but also there's a science behind it. There are actually steps which you can take to not only bring an idea into the real world, but also to get funding for that idea using crowdfunding, using Kickstarter, using Indiegogo, the things we talk about, the techniques on this show, and apply that to your campaign in order to see rapid results. I'm talking about a soaring campaign funding meter that's going up and up, and really something that also blows your mind, something that's unbelievable in many cases. I think that the first time anyone launches a new product, you start to see that other people around the world want to buy this thing. They want to own this. It's one of the most exciting experiences which you can have. in my opinion. And that's been confirmed by, so many of my coaching students over the years. It's been confirmed by many of my clients, different campaigns that I've worked on myself. It's really something to me that's not only a labor of love and super passion, but also it's incredible, testing data where you can then get this product out there into the hands of other people. They can give you feedback and you can continue to iterate. You can get tons of introductions. All of a sudden, literally snap your fingers and overnight, you got a whole tribe of people online who know who you are. They know your brand. They've bought your product. That is freaking powerful, man. Particularly in today's social media driven digital marketing, hyper fast age where you kind of need a tribe, honestly, to stand out, I think, these days. So I hope you took away a lot of that great information. One of the things that I think is really important when it comes to launching a campaign is this whole element of PR and influencers. So knowing how to get media hits, knowing how to get people to want to write about you, to do stories about you. I think a story is so incredibly powerful because when you have a journalist who actually writes about you, not only are you getting that credibility and that media mention, but you're also getting a river of traffic being sent to your campaign in real time. Everyone who reads that publication, that entire audience is literally being forwarded and directed straight to your campaign page where they can instantly back your project. They can have your funding meter going up. You can affect that, what we call the velocity of funding or the velocity of pledges, which factors into the Indiegogo algorithm, Gogo Factor algorithm, or on Kickstarter, their proprietary algorithm. That's really, to me, the whole point of going out there and reaching out and trying to get media hits. But it's way more complicated than I think anyone really wants to admit. I think there's a lot of convoluted ways to go about it, some things that work, some things that don't. So what I wanted to do was really kind of, in my hallmark fashion, demystify this for you and really focus on the things that are most likely to be effective when it comes to getting you media hits, getting journalists to write about you, and really getting a PR story out there that's being spread around the world. So if that sounds interesting to you, I put a lot of these trainings, a lot of this information, a lot of these techniques and tactics into a free course, which I'm going to share a link to you in just a second. You can sign up for this free course, just enter your name and email. I will start sending you some emails, kind of warming you up to what you got to do if you really want to hit it big and start to get media mentions for your crowdfunding campaign. So go and check out this link at crowdcrux.com/PR. That link is crowdcrux.com/PR. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/PR. And like I said, I think this is kind of like number one. It's really something that a lot of creators don't think about when they're actually launching a campaign. That launching a campaign is a media event. It's public, man. You're getting tons of people out there that are talking and singing your praises. You have journalists that are looking to write you up. You're getting media mentions and logos. If you've been kind of wondering more about this aspect of the campaign that just isn't talked about very much out there in the common parlance, definitely want to check out that free link. And in addition, I think this is kind of like a secret weapon, because once you start to actually get the media on your side, you almost have like this whole new lift, right, when it comes to your campaign. Because something that you didn't plan for all of a sudden starts to get tons of people that are checking it out who you've never met before and having strangers on your campaigns. And kind of, in my opinion, be a little bit of a secret weapon, but you definitely got to do it right. And I'd say the vast majority of campaigns don't really know what they're doing. So again, that link, crowdcrux.com/PR. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for listening. Look forward to our episode next week. Hope you tune in and leave a positive rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, or leave a comment for me, man, on YouTube. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Sal or Salvador, and I will see you next time.